Julian liked to imagine himself as Marcus Aurelius reborn, a philosopher correcting a fallen age. The problem was that Marcus ruled a world that still aligned with his values. Julian ruled one that had already moved on. He was a deluded, poser philosopher who mistook his own nostalgia for destiny. Salve mates, I hope everything is covered in Italian sunshine at your end. In today's episode of Emperor on a Trial, I will focus on Julian the Apostate, the last pagan Roman emperor. Julian's image of a tragic hero who tried to save classical civilization from Christianity is seductive, but it is also misleading. Julian was a great Caesar, a title for junior emperor, but he was a deeply flawed senior emperor, Augustus. And the difference between those two roles explains everything. When Julian was sent to Gaul in 355, he was not meant to shine. His cousin, Emperor Constantius II, did not expect brilliance from him. Gaul was exhausted, devastated by barbarians, abused by corrupt Roman officials, drained by taxation, its soldiers unpaid and restless. Yet Julian restored peace and order. He defeated the Alemanni at Argentoratum. He repaired fortifications, he rebuilt cities, he reduced taxes despite bureaucratic resistance. As a judge, he listened in court and then acted with restraint. In Gaul, he was disciplined and effective. If this Julian had died in 360, we would remember him alongside Rome's most capable what-if emperor. But when Julian inherited the whole empire, something shifted. As the saying goes, power corrupts, but absolute power corrupts absolutely. So the careful governor suddenly became a man convinced of a divine mission. Julian had long rejected Christianity in secret. As Augustus, he made that rejection public and political. What followed was an attempt to remove Christianity from life. His own religious fanaticism began to cloud his judgment. Unable to persuade the Roman population that paganism was superior, he began applying pressure. He didn't settle with reopening pagan temples and sacrifices. He removed Christian prominence from the army, replacing the labarum with traditional pagan symbols. In doing so, he alienated those parts of the military that was already Christian, especially Eastern legions. Historian Ammianus writes that Julian too often drenched the altars with the blood of too many victims, sacrificing hundreds of bulls at a time. This was deemed ridiculous and anachronistic already at the time, perceived as theatrical and weird. Even Ammianus, who admired him, sounds embarrassed describing the slaughter. Julian drowned in the blood of a livestock like a fanatic trying to impress the heavens. Julian did that because he believed Christians were intellectually inferior. In 362 he issued his infamous edict forbidding Christians from teaching classical writings. You reject the gods? Fine. Then you don't get Aristotle, was basically his policy. His reasoning was that those who rejected the gods had no right to read the poets who honored them. It was presented as philosophical consistency rather than what it really was, tyranny. Julian also permitted previously exiled bishops to return, not out of generosity but because he hoped their conflicts would fracture the Catholic Church. He understood that division weakened Christianity, but he underestimated its resilience because Christians of different denominations had already persecuted one another before. The Christians of Nicene denomination feared him less than they had feared his Arian predecessor. When Saint Athanasius went into his fourth exile again in 362 during Julian's reign, he reportedly told his followers, "Do not be troubled. It is only a small cloud and it will soon pass." He knew Christianity will outlive Julian. The emperor was trying to reverse half a century of religious and social transformation with decrees. And then came cold shower in ancient Syrian city of Antioch. Julian arrived there expecting admiration. Instead, Christian Antioch publicly mocked him. The emperor who thought he was Marcus Aurelius reborn got laughed at for his philosophical poser beard, his sacrifices, and his theatrical grandstanding. And instead of ignoring it, he wrote a bitter satire attacking the whole city. The emperor, who had been loved in Gaul, now faced rejection in the East. He slowly began to experience disillusion of his anti-Christian war. Libanius, the pagan orator and his admirer, later admitted how difficult it was to fight Christians without creating martyrs. If you persecute Christians violently, they gain heroes. If you pressure them quietly, they endure. Christianity had already penetrated deeply into the urban life and the army. Julian was fighting not a sect, but a structure he himself tried to mimic with organization of paganism, by the way. So when his domestic policies failed, he then chose war. Constantius II had maintained a cautious defensive policy against Shapur II of Persia. Julian wanted everything. He wanted glory. He wanted divine validation. He wanted to prove that the gods favored him in his task, against advice of everyone, against caution of his predecessor, against all bad omens. In 363 he marched with perhaps 65,000 men down the Euphrates, supported by a massive fleet with supplies. The early campaign was impressive as he quickly reached Persian capital Ctesiphon. He appeared unstoppable. And then he made a decision that defined his reign. He ordered the fleet and supplies burned. Whether driven by impatience, overconfidence, or belief in divine factor, the result was catastrophic. By destroying his supply ships, he cut his own logistical lifeline. The desperate army then marched north through scorched land, harassed constantly by Persian cavalry, suffering from hunger and heat. On June 26, during a skirmish, Julian entered combat without full armor. A spear struck him from an unknown direction. He died soon after. He had not appointed a successor. The army elected Jovian and was forced into humiliating peace terms. Julian died believing he had been chosen to heal a corrupted empire. But his reign demonstrates something harsher. He misunderstood his own time. As Caesar, he had worked within constraints and succeeded, but as Augustus, he believed in fate could override reason. He believed paganism could be revived because he believed in it deeply enough. His religious program collapsed immediately after his death. His laws were reversed, his reforms dissolved. Christianity continued unbroken. If you enjoy watching emperors try to out-argue history and lose, subscribe, because Rome is full of brilliant men who thought they could bend reality to their will. And if Julian taught us anything, it's this: ideas matter, but only when they survive the world they're trying to change. Stay strong.